And we are back here on Tobago Updates Youth Wednesdays, here live from Port Mall in Scarborough. I don't know if you would have heard that introduction from our guest on set this morning, but this is really weather for bed. But here she is making that sacrifice. She is no stranger to our screens. Let's welcome the Secretary for Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development, Mrs. Natisha Charles-Pantin. Good morning to you, Mrs. Pantin.
Good morning there. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Bagatelle Bacalet.
All right. So I know when we pass on the highway, there are some signs that are laid off just after Wilson Road around there. You know what's coming up? It's Tobago Day. And there are a few events leading up to the day and a few events after. And we as Tobagonians, we should really be excited for something like this, you know, because, I mean, it's not very new per se, but at the same time, it is new because now it's being celebrated in a very big way. Right? Mrs. Pantin, of course, is here to speak to us on something in specific that will be launched for the Tobago Day celebrations, right? And that is TAGS. That is the Tobago Agri-Technology Services and the Division. So to all those of you who are interested in, well, what her title says in the secretary's, the title itself, for those of you interested in agriculture, the environment, natural resources, food security, as the title said, as I said, here is the time for you to listen up, right? So, Mrs. Pantin, how are you this morning? Are you ready for this groundbreaking, inspiring, new, limited company, I should say?
Actually, I am good. I'm extremely tired, but I'm really good. In terms of good spirits, I want to say that I'm extremely proud of the person who did the graphics, both for Carnival and Tobago Day. Beautiful graphics on the highway. It's extraordinary, yeah?
Yes.
Now, the Tobago Agri-Technology Services Company, it's actually a company that was registered late last year, and it's found its way in terms of understanding its mandate. Now, this company is charged with the responsibility of introducing technology into agriculture, into forestry, in all the related fields, and of course to train our stakeholders in terms of business and understanding the Procurement Act. You know, so different types of services. And I'll tell you something. In my days when I was trained, I sound really old, right? When I say in my days, but in my younger years, when I was trained in agriculture and specialized in forestry and ecological services and public health, and we didn't have the types of technologies that you have now. And it's a similar experience for some of our staff. It's a similar experience for the stakeholders. So it is something that needs to be introduced into the space, because if you have a food import bill of $7.3 billion, right, you have to embark on food security initiatives.
Yes.
And we are facing climate change. We are facing a myriad of issues. And this is our way of introducing technology to boost food security on the island. And of course, the increased participation in food security.
Right. So I'm hearing that, you know, well, you said in your younger years, it was not available to you.
Yes.
So what would have inspired the formation of this company, and how does this vision align with the vision of the division?
So the division, well, when I got into office, everything was literally run down. Okay. And I really need to repeat that, because people, they are seeing so much progress in a short space of time with very little money. And that is because of the creativity of all the staff, the creativity of management. So all of us, we would have really worked hard to ensure that we have a thriving sector going forward. So we had to create a balance. And of course, TAGS, the company doesn't have a home yet. It's housed at the division. So you can get all your information about TAGS at the division. But very soon, the research center that was abandoned, there's a research center in the back of Buku, totally abandoned, underutilized, all the boats derelict, right? So we converted that area now. It's beautiful, actually. So we'll be launching TAGS in that building. and we'll be offering services to the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, not only fisheries, fisher folk, but all the stakeholders under the Division of Food Security. So it is to actually empower persons to move away from the traditional way of farming, of fishing, right? And introduce those technologies that could protect us as an island.
Yes.
So if you're listening into the space, you'll hear of vessels being stolen, right? And one of the technologies that be used, because you could use several, yeah, there are GPS tracking systems, there are tags, there are different types of technology that you can use to track your vessel. We cannot compel people and force people to utilize the technology, but you have to understand the value of having this type of technology to protect yourself and to protect your families.
Okay.
Yeah. Fish for the farmers in particular, there's drone technology, right? To talk about mapping your farms, right? Providing data, right? That's what's important. Now, agriculture, a lot of people like to hide their process. They like to, they don't take data. And I'm not sure if it's tax evasion they're looking at, but agriculture for the most part is a tax-free industry, right? And that's to encourage people to get into farming and fishing. But there's no reason to hide what you have.
Right.
And that I was explaining that to some farmers last night, that if you continue to hide what you're doing, then giving you the support becomes difficult. For example, one of the things we were hoping to do is to invite some of the insurance companies. And we had a chat with an insurance company, and they said the risk is too high in agriculture, right? You don't have proper systems in place. Agriculture is not treated as a business. So if you have that high dependency on government, the high reliability on government assets and government support, and you're not treating agriculture as a science and a business, the insurance companies most likely may not insure you, right? But if you introduce the technology where you can monitor and all of these things, and you keep proper records, then we work towards ensuring that insurance companies see this sector as one that, you know, they would be able to provide insurance, crop insurance, right? And other types of insurance. But technology is the way to go, right? It's not only about trying to compensate for losses, but when you look at the way forward in terms of shortening the harvesting time, because, you know, the traditional way, you may just, you know, do things how you were trained, you handed down by your grandparents. But there are simple techniques that you can introduce on your farm to shorten the harvesting time. So we would have had Marcus Maiku. He would be one of them at the Agri-Tech Summit on December 2nd and 3rd. He would be training farmers on how to do, you know, very simple things to increase productivity on your farm. And I use the example of moving pawpaw from bearing at 9 months to 5 months, 5.5 months. And that's extraordinary. And you can do the same with citrus and avocados. So we'll continue working with him to establish fruit farms. Yeah?
All right. Okay. So in terms of the technology, you know, you would have mentioned drone footage, you would have mentioned putting tags on some of the boats. Is there anything else that we can look forward to in terms of the technology for the new company being brought out?
Oh, definitely. We have had to report in the parliament several times on the pest issue that we have on the island. And I'll give you an example. Parrots is considered a pest in Tobago.
Though very beautiful.
Though
very
extremely, I think everything is beautiful,
Yeah.
beautifully made by God. But when something is out of control, then it becomes a pest. So by no means am I saying the parrot is a pest, but it becomes a pest when it's out of control in numbers. And the bird whaler, it was an experiment, I think a year or two before. It was an experiment being done by persons who really creative. They would have extracted something from the vocal cord of the bird to do a several scared songs, right? That could deter parrots and cockroaches, right? So we wrote to Digital and Shell to support Dwayne Dove, and he's successful now. He's actually going to experience his first harvest at his cocoa estate, right? And we introduced the bird whaler at Le, where we are going to have the chocolate and mud, the opening launch of the Tobago Agri-Tech Summit. And that type of technology has been scaring away the birds and keeping them from the farms. So that type of technology would be introduced. And of course, the recommendation would be made to bring it under the incentives program so that farmers would have access to it, whether it's by they purchase and they have a rebate, something would be introduced so that it's available. Because I know we had pigeon peas once used to be in abundance in Tobago. So now we have the opportunity to invest in things that we may not have because we have bird pests.
Right.
Yeah. But a lot of people worried about the adaptability of the birds. But as I said, agriculture is a science and a business, and we always have to keep experimenting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned the summit, and you also mentioned mud and chocolate, the chocolate and mud festival. Now, I know that chocolate is edible, but mud is not. So what exactly, what is so unique about this event? What is chocolate and mud festival?
I just want to make a joke here, and it's a complete joke. She's saying mud is not edible, and I know people that might have eaten mud. Right? That's a true story, yeah? But but no, you're not going to eat the mud. So what inspired the chocolate and mud celebration? Now, with every summit or conference in the world, you would feature some type of homegrown festivity, some cultural aspect of the Tobago landscape or any landscape at all. So that would be featured. And the choice of chocolate and mud, because we would have invested in cocoa in such a big way, trying to rehabilitate the fields, teaching farmers how to do those specialty cuts, right? Things that they've never been introduced to before. And experimenting with the bird whaler, we would have tried to resuscitate the industry. And then we have a lot of stakeholders now working with us, the embassy, right? To bring back cocoa on the island. So this is an attraction, right? It's an attraction to the estate, the cocoa estate. It's for you to enjoy everything made from cocoa, the finest cocoa. It is Tobago cocoa. And I'm not just saying that because I love Tobago, but it is the truth, right, Trinitario? And we want to make everything out of cocoa. So when you get there, you will experience everything chocolate. The mud part of it would be just the procession into the estate. You would be able to participate in it. You don't have to, but it would be nice to experience that mud mass culture. Yeah. But it is a breakfast event where you would experience everything, cocoa, tea, anything you could think of that is made from chocolate will be there.
Chocolate itself is just everything. So
yes.
I'm interested. I don't know about you all, right? So my last question, of course, is the main question. Where can we purchase our tickets? What time does the event start, and where will it be taking place?
Well, you know, all the young people know about these e-tickets, yes. Island e-tickets, right? I've never bought a ticket on Island E before, so all the young people decided that this is the way to go. But you can also purchase tickets at the division, right? And I think if you log in and you register, they should have the Island E option there, right? But the young, as I said, the young people know how to get their tickets sold, right? But yes, if you come to tags at the division, you'll be able to purchase tickets to the event. And then on the 2nd and 3rd, you have the Agri-Tech Innovation Summit. It's the first summit, and we'll have more of it because technology is something that you have to keep introducing over time. So you wouldn't be able to learn and appreciate everything with just this December 2nd and 3rd event.
Right.
So we're hoping to host it every year. So if you're not on board this year, you come on board next year. And of course, technology improves every year.
Yes.
So you'll be open to experiencing technology every year. It's up to you to adapt to it, to buy into it. And of course, I keep saying that agriculture is a science and business. If we continue down the road of 100% dependency on government assets and not try to empower ourselves and get all the resources we need, then that it's not considered to be a true business. What you're doing is basically home gardening. But if you want to take it that step further, right, this is an option for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, you'll have hydroponics there, all the different things, shade house technology, everything you could think of in terms of this sector, even something for the small ruminant industry. You can experience it at this summit and all the summits to come.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Pantin, for being with us here this morning. It's always a pleasure having her here on Tobago Updates. Always something new to look forward to. Always an interesting conversation. And of course, she has just brought across, I mean, the interview before the launch of tags, right? And then we have the Chocolate and Mud Festival to look forward to, where we can learn all about chocolate, all about cocoa, how the mud is going to be introduced into this whole event. We have a lot to look forward to on that weekend, our upcoming Tobago Day. So once again, Mrs. Pantin, thank you so much for joining us here on Youth Wednesdays on Tobago Updates. Viewers, before I go, of course, I want to encourage you to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.